Alright, good afternoon. We ended the last video on sort of a mixed note. Obviously we got most of the bike together, which is great, and it did run, but it didn't run great. We were getting some popping back through the carb and some other odd noises, and just wouldn't stay running at all. It wouldn't idle, so it's definitely a lean condition. And I think the reason for that is because the carb on there, like one of you guys very helpfully mentioned, is probably a CT90 carb. It doesn't have the altitude compensator, and the jetting is actually, I found out, smaller than it should be for the CT90. So I went ahead and did two things. For one, I went on eBay and bought a real OEM carb for the bike. That's kind of the ideal situation, that I would get that running with the OEM carb pretty well. But for the meantime, since I want to go on a trip this weekend and I want to take this bike, I got an Amazon carb here. So this is the brand here is called Carb Man. They make tons of these, and the reason I didn't just reuse the one I got with the bike, because I did also get an aftermarket carb with the bike, is that this one will actually fit with the stock air filter, and it's much closer to the original. I can use the same throttle cap to the throttle cable, so there's very little I have to do to modify this to get it to work. Hopefully I can at least take it around the block with this thing. So let's get this mounted and hooked up and see if we can get it to run. Oh my God. Alright, I just remembered something I read on the Amazon reviews of this carb, which I can confirm here on the bike. You gotta actually cut down the overflow tube here. I'm just gonna go do that on the belt sander probably, and then I can actually get this to fit. Probably gonna cut about halfway. Alright, that's better, I think. Let's see if that'll fit. Yeah, should be good. Okay. Alright, so like I mentioned, this should fit on the same throttle cap, so I don't have to actually switch where the cable's routed. And so I'm just going to take the spring and the slide out of this carb and put them on this cable, and then thread it all back on. Alright, let's see how this Amazon carb does. Alright, it's not leaking, that's a good sign. Let's turn it to reserve. The throttle works. Let's give it a couple kicks. Put the choke on. It sounds fantastic. You gotta be kidding me. That's a $30 carburetor that shipped to me overnight. Holy cow. Well, we've got a little oil leak down there. I don't think you can see it. Little oil leak. Actually, I know where it's coming from. It's the, there's an O-ring in the high-low transmission I gotta replace, but holy cow. Man, that thing sounds great. Alright, you guys, I am beyond stoked with how this Amazon carburetor works. Sort of on principle, I'd rather have the OEM one, but I'm really pleased with this, and I think I can definitely take it around the block a couple times, if not take it on this trip coming up. So before I do that, I do have a few other things I have to address. I got a new speedo cable I got to put in. I have to make it so the center stand doesn't hit the chain when it comes up, and I have to address an oil leak down there. Those are the three big things. There'll probably be some other things we'll get to as I'm jumping around, but let's start with those. Let's do the cable, then the center stand, and let's address that oil leak. And as with much of what you see on this bike right now, this cable's from Dr. ATV, so I have no doubt that it will fit. Alright, so as you can see, the center stand is definitely going to be an issue. It's hitting right into the chain there, so I need to find something to sort of stop it with. And originally there's like a rubber stopper on these bikes, but I didn't have one. In fact, the previous owner had like taped a wood block here, I guess so it would stop against the chain guard. Well, I'd like to do something a little more refined than that, so I got this rubber sort of stopper with a threaded insert in there. I don't know, it's called like a set nut or something like that, and I got a bolt. And so what I'm thinking of doing is taking the spot where the rubber stopper normally is from the factory and just tightening this together with some Loctite, and hopefully that'll make enough of a rubber stop to keep the center stand out of the way. Alright, forgot to hit record there. Just threw some orange thread locker on the bolt and threaded it in, and you can see it there, maybe. Anyway, nice and soft now. It's not getting in the way of the chain or anything, so that is good to go. Now we can address that oil leak. Alright, so first I'm just going to pop off the sub-transmission because I know I have a shot O-ring on the like fork stem, so Alright, so I went ahead and replaced the O-ring on the like shifter lever here on the sub-transmission, and then I just like really tightened down this Allen bolt down here where it was seeping some oil, and it's still kind of leaking. It's much slower now, but it is still kind of leaking, so I think I'm gonna pop off this cover, which means I also got to take apart the sub-transmission again, try to pop off the cover and see if maybe the gasket is sitting in there wrong or something. I don't have another gasket, so this might be the best I can do, but I think it's worth taking a look at. Alright, I had to take the foot pegs off. Let's see if I can shimmy the crankcase cover off. Alright, so here's some really good information I really wish I had known. This gasket is the wrong gasket. You need a gasket for the CT90s with the sub-transmission. You need a gasket that has this added piece. This is exactly where my oil was seeping from, so I'm going to swap these gaskets out, get the cover back on, and that should deal with the oil leak. Alright, now that I've lost more than half of the oil probably, let me top this back up. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now let's see if we can fire this thing back up, and let's hope that we don't still have that oil leak. Alright, let's get this plastic on as a finishing touch. Alright you guys, that's going to do it for the CT90 rebuild. I'm really happy with how this thing came out, and actually the footage you just saw was from like 2 months ago when I got the thing back together and running with that Amazon carb. In the meantime, I got the registration figured out, I went and got it inspected, it passed with flying colors, so we're on the road now. I've actually done like close to 450 miles on it, so I'm going to be putting out an update, all the mechanical changes I've made or issues I've had after 500 miles. So I'll make that video and you'll see that. I've also got a couple projects coming out. I made a passenger seat. I made some other like luggage solutions for the bike. So I have those coming out too. But this is basically the end of getting it back to a stock CT90 that runs, I mean, except for the carb. That'll also be in a future video, maybe. Anyway, I'm really happy with how this thing came out, and I just wanted to finish the video by saying a huge thank you to all you guys who left your support or your advice or your stories in the comments. It makes a huge difference when I'm making these videos to have people, you know, resonating with them and enjoying following along on the process. So it's just made this whole experience of working on the bike way more fun to know you guys are following along and enjoying it. And it's actually helped catch some issues like that carb issue I was having. It would have taken me far longer to find out that that was a CT70 carb, not a CT90 carb that I got with the bike, if it weren't for you guys. So I just wanted to say a huge thank you to all you guys for following along and leaving kind words in the comment section or, you know, constructive feedback when I need it. Now, the last thing I want to say is that coming up soon, I'm going to be moving into a community garage in the neighborhood. And this is actually the same garage where some of the members helped me get the 450 running, if you watched any of the videos on the 450. So I'm going to move it into that garage, and part of my role there is going to be obviously working on my own bike, so some of the videos you'll see are going to be coming out of that garage. But also, I really wanted to capture some of the bikes and the people that work on them there. There's some really great projects going on there and some really great stories in that space. So I don't know if that's going to be on this channel or if I'm going to set up a different channel specifically for the garage, but I'm going to be making some videos on that, or maybe writing some stuff up about that, taking pictures. Not entirely sure yet, but it's a really cool opportunity to get to kind of capture some of the really cool stuff that's going on there. So anyway, you have that to look forward to. Like I said, other projects on the CT90 coming up. Might even do like a full 450 like tear down rebuild in the winter. I'm considering that. So anyway, a lot more coming up, but this does it for the CT90 rebuild, back to more or less stock, minus the Amazon carb. So stay tuned, and thank you so much for watching.